Good afternoon. Hey y'all, I come to you as I was born, unwashed and uncombed, wearing no pants. And basically, the life under quarantine, okay? But in all seriousness, this is a very serious video that part of me trying to make light of things is because there's just so much that could depress a person, okay? So if you haven't seen, there are pictures and videos going on in social media of a South African man who lives in a shack being dragged out of his house shack and naked by police, and police proceeding to tear down his makeshift house, which is a shack. So I'm gonna try my best not to dwell on this video because I do tend to say a lot because there's a lot to say, but I'm gonna try and be as precise as I can be. Okay, so for me, this is just what us black people already know, that black lives do not matter. Okay, and that's the truth, and that's what we know world over. Okay, none of it is new to us. It's been like this for centuries, and we have not figured out a real solution for us. And that to me is really where I always want to come in, because we will be here 1,000 years from now if we don't change how we have been doing things. Okay, during apartheid, it was like that in South Africa. What you see there reminds me so much of how life was under apartheid. But the saddening thing is that you are in a majority black country with black politicians, and people in 2020 are still living like that. Black people mainly, because it's not just black people who live like that, but mainly just like it was during apartheid. And the fact that nothing has changed and people still live the way they were because we just continued without ever really pausing and evaluating what is the way forward. And that's the reason we're here year after year and nothing changes. Until we sit down and figure out a solution, we're gonna be in this treadmill over and over and over. Okay, so it does sadden me that in a majority black country, black lives do not matter. Okay, so and also what you see going on in South Africa is a reflection, not a reflection, but a reality of an economy left over by apartheid system. In other words, even though we got our freedom, the economic structures left by apartheid are still very much intact. And until you dismantle that, you're gonna always see black people suffering the way you saw that man suffering. The fact that those policemen had the nerve to drag someone naked outside and had no respect for his humanity, for for the people around him, whether it was his children or friends or family. It really speaks volume about how much we value people who are of black heritage. And to me, that's really the problem. But to go back to the economic structures left by apartheid, the biggest problem in South Africa during apartheid and post-apartheid was that economy was centralized around whiteness. Okay, by that what I mean is that black people's responsibility in the economy were to support white people who were living very well and living better than many people live in the first world countries, and that economy was created to support white supremacy. It had nothing to do with creating value and and benefiting everyone, but it was designed to support white people. And until you dismantle that type of economy, you're going to continue to have problems in South Africa and around the world, because basically we're not creating economies that work for the country. We're creating economies that work for white supremacy. And for me, the solution, and I've already reiterated this many times, and I think nobody hears me, nobody wants to think about what I'm saying. But until we re-educate the mind, okay? First, before I say what I'm going to say, let me say this. Steve Biko has a famous quote. Steve Biko was an author and a medical student who was killed in South Africa in 1977, if I remember correctly. And he was killed because he really was a threat to white supremacy because of the way he thought. His way of thinking was really shaped by an idea of what it means to be an African and a human being in the context of white supremacy, and that's why he was seen as a threat. So, but to go back to what his famous quote, he says, the most powerful weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Okay? That statement to me sums up everything. The most powerful weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Basically, he's saying that until we change the way we think and do things and execute and figure out the solution, which is we're going to continue to basically serve the system. So we have to really think about how we do things, okay? So we have to re-educate the mind, not only the mind of Black people, because we need the most education about what it means to be free and to live free and what that really means. We also need to educate other people that no human being should ever be subjected to the way Black people have been subjected. Okay, no person in the world should ever suffer the way Black people have suffered, and that's something. Like, we've gotten to a stage where it's okay. We've gotten used to. We have been conditioned to accept Black suffering. And as a society, not only other people, but Black people as well. And until we fix that and understand what that truly means, like, I mean, in reality, what does that mean for Black people to not suffer, to be just like other people who just live freely, just like other people? So we definitely have to work on that. Another thing that's going to be immediate, and in South Africa, in the context of South Africa especially, is to decentralize the economy. You have to move the economy away from big cities like Cape Town. And the way you do that is by creating opportunities in rural areas where people basically have deserted the land, fruitful land. I mean, I shouldn't say fruitful, but land that is very rich, that is arable. People have deserted it in search of basically a little penny to survive. And to me, that mentality is something that we have to we have to teach on how to create value and how you grow economy, and make our people understand that our great hope is not to be in just in cities. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be in cities like Cape Town. We belong there just like everyone else. But for you to go and struggle in a city where you support people who pay you nothing, that you can't even afford to buy your own house, and you consider that a living, to me, that's what I mean by re-educating the mind, to understand that to live in those conditions, it's not something any human being should ever be subjected to. And if it means going back to, like moving to a different area where there are opportunities, you should feel free enough to be able to do that. And that's really the point I'm trying to make. I'm not advocating that Black people should move, because that's exactly what white people want, and I understand that. But if you're doing well in Cape Town financially, regardless of the color of your skin, and you can afford to live a decent life, by all means, that's what you should do. But if you're not, and you're struggling, you have to figure out a way to move. And the only way that people will move from places like Cape Town is if there are opportunities outside of those areas that would allow people to be able to feel free enough within South Africa to move to those areas. So that's really my solution. And as you know, I'm kind of trying to walk the walk. Okay, I'm building in the countryside, in a place that nobody would ever think someone who's lived in America would ever build. Okay, and I'm building because I'm trying to see if what I believe is possible in terms of creating value and really changing people's perceptions can be done. And I want to lead by example. So that's part of why I'm building there. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe and follow my journey. My channel is not always as this serious, but it's very difficult for me to ignore what is going on with our people, because I have pretty much everyone I love dearly, my family lives in South Africa, and I want South Africa to work. That is what I want more than anything, because a South Africa that works not just for certain people but for every South African is what we need. So yeah, that's my solution. Again, not to move everyone, but to allow people, to give people choices. In economics, they call them pull factors. We need to give people pull factors so that they can move into different areas where they can live decent lives and lower the demand in Cape Town, because the demand in Cape Town raises the price of everything. Not only that, it also lowers the price of wages because everyone is there, so it's not hard for an employer to replace you. And so in order to lower that demand, or I should say to lower the supply of employees, people need to move away, and then you will see wages increase in Cape Town and people live a more decent life. And I know it's a crab in a bucket mentality where we're like, why should I sacrifice? But sometimes somebody has to sacrifice, and that's what I'm doing. Thank you for watching.